Well, the most important single thing we can do is become politically active and go to work on one of these major issues like closing down existing coal-fired power plants or banning bottled water or adopting a carbon tax. If we can get a carbon tax, restructure taxes, lower income taxes and raise taxes on carbon. Don't change the amount of tax we pay, just change what we tax. We want to tax the bads, not the goods. We want people to work, and if we tax labor too heavily, then it reduces the number of jobs. Right. But if we lower the tax on income and labor, it creates jobs, and the tax shifted to carbon will facilitate the shift to renewable sources.
Republicans might go for that too.
They might.
Yeah.
One of the strongest proponents of this is an economist named Gregory Mankiw, M-A-N-K-I-W. He was Bush's chairman of Bush's Council on Economic Advisors for a few years. But what he was looking at, what he was arguing, and this was before he became chairman, he didn't make much headway with this while he was in Washington, but he argues strongly that we need a gasoline tax in this country. He points out it would reduce dependence on oil, it would stabilize climate, reduce air pollution, reduce traffic congestion, all these important goals you can move to at the same time. He said, there's no free lunch in economics, but this is as close as you can get to a free lunch.
But whenever a gas tax is proposed, it's shot down immediately. People say it would
because it's proposed as an additional tax. As an additional tax, not as tax restructuring. In Europe, they've been doing mostly tax restructuring. The Germans, the Swedes, others, they lower income taxes and raise the carbon tax and don't change the level of taxes. I just did an interview a few days ago on Fox News, and this came up, and I said, if we're going to rely on increasing taxes to save the environment, we're probably not going to make it. That's why we have to focus on restructuring taxes. People will accept tax restructuring. The public, at some point, will not accept tax increases.
Sure. And then I was very interested in, you were talking about hybrid cars, the sort of future of personal transportation. Can you tell us about that a bit?
In this country, we consume more gasoline than the next 20 countries combined. It sounds like it.
More than China?
Oh, China's not even close. It sounds like a mistake.
Because China and India are growing quickly, so...
They are, but they're starting from such a small base. Okay. We have 28% of the world's cars. We drive them much further on average than the rest of the world drives the other 72%. And our cars are much less fuel efficient than the average car in the rest of the world. So when you put those together, that probably takes us up to maybe 40% of world gasoline consumption, something like that. So then you can see why, when you start lining the other countries up, it includes China, India, Russia, Germany, the UK, France, Brazil, Canada, and we consume more than the next 20. And when you start talking about restructuring the world energy economy to reduce carbon emissions, the first thing that comes to mind for most people is, what are you going to do about all the cars in the United States? Well, what we have seen in the last decade or two is two technological advances that set the stage for creating an entirely new automotive fuel economy. One is the development of hybrid cars. Once you get hybrid cars, it's a short step to plug-in hybrids. The other is the advances in the design of wind turbines that enables us to convert wind into electricity at such a low cost. So if in the years ahead we move quickly to plug-in hybrid cars, and the two companies that are likely to be on the market first are Toyota and GM. Both are saying by 2010. Toyota has said it's going to try for earlier than that, which would be next year, 2009. Wow. Toyota is going to take a modified Prius, a Prius with a second storage battery and an extension cord, basically, so you can plug it in at night and recharge the batteries. And then you can do most of your short distance driving with electricity. Then you have the tank of gasoline as a backup whenever you need it. Incidentally, this meshes nicely with wind energy because then the batteries in the fleet of automobiles become a storage facility for wind energy to develop with any local fluctuations in the supply.